Power is a game of perception, not reality. It is the art of making others believe you have control, while in fact, you are the one pulling the strings from the shadows. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this truth better than anyone. His famous work, The Prince, is not a manual on how to become a king, it's a manual on how to become the master of power by appearing powerless. Yes, you heard that right. Acting powerless can make you the most powerful person in the room. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? In a world where everyone is trying to appear strong, confident, and invincible, Machiavelli teaches the opposite. He teaches that sometimes it's more powerful to appear vulnerable, weak, or even subservient. By embracing this illusion, you can manipulate others into doing your bidding without them even knowing it. This is the essence of Machiavellian power: control through illusion. By playing the game of submission perfectly, you make your opponents lower their guard. They begin to see you as harmless, predictable, even trustworthy just long enough for you to strike. Now let's dive into how this dark logic works in practice and why acting powerless is one of the most powerful psychological tactics in the world. Let's begin the journey of understanding how weakness can become your greatest weapon. So, why does acting powerless work? The answer lies in a simple, yet profound psychological truth. People underestimate what they don't fear. When you present yourself as harmless, when you appear vulnerable, people's instincts shift. They no longer see you as a threat. Instead, they perceive you as someone to be ignored or taken advantage of. At least, that's what they think. But what they fail to realize is that you've disarmed their defenses without lifting a finger. Here's how it works. When you act powerless, you create an opening. People lower their guard, assuming that there's no danger in dealing with you. They begin to overlook your potential and focus their energy on other, bigger threats, all while you're silently absorbing the situation, watching, learning, and calculating. Machiavelli's genius was in understanding this. The strongest person is not the one who shouts the loudest, but the one who remains calm and controlled, even when everyone else is busy flexing their muscles. You can be the one who controls the room by being the last person to react. By withholding your power, you create space for others to reveal themselves, their weaknesses, their impulses, their desires, and you position yourself as someone who holds the ultimate advantage. People will compete for power. They'll show off their strength. They'll argue their case. But those who can remain quiet, who can act powerless, will not only survive, they will outmaneuver. Now let us look at how Machiavelli's weakness strategy plays out in leadership and why some of the greatest leaders never show their full strength until the moment is right. Let's take this idea deeper. Weakness, in Machiavellian terms, doesn't mean being genuinely powerless. It's a psychological game of performance. Think about this. The most effective leaders don't wield their full strength in plain sight. Instead, they use strategic restraint. They hold back, letting others expend their energy and show their cards. This doesn't mean they're not powerful, it means they control the timing of their power. In history, we've seen leaders like Napoleon, Caesar, and even Machiavelli himself use this tactic. They didn't charge in with force at every opportunity. They understood the value of patience, waiting for the right moment when their enemies were already too exposed to resist. Consider a chess game. The best players don't make aggressive moves until they've carefully observed the opponent's strategy. They let their adversary move first, creating weaknesses, then pounce at the most opportune moment. In the same way, acting powerless allows you to bait your enemies into revealing their next move. Machiavelli's advice was simple: appear weak so you can strike decisively. Think about those moments when you've seen someone play the nice guy or the agreeable person, only to later reveal a decisive and cold move that no one saw coming. That is Machiavelli in action, biding your time and creating a sense of security in others before dominating the game. Now let's discuss how acting powerless in relationships, whether in business, Love or social dynamics can actually give you more control than brute force ever could. The power of subtle manipulation is often the most overlooked. Now let's explore how acting powerless works in personal dynamics, particularly in relationships, whether professional, romantic, or social. The principle remains the same. Psychological dominance often lies in control through subtlety. When you act powerless, you give others the illusion that they are in charge. You let them think they are the ones calling the shots, making decisions, and driving the narrative. But beneath the surface, you are still the one who holds the power. This plays out most dramatically in romantic or business relationships. Think about the people who seem like the most confident or authoritative figures. They dominate the conversation, take charge of decisions, and seem to have it all under control. But they are often exhausting themselves trying to maintain that image of strength. Now, consider the person who seems subdued, someone who listens more than they speak, someone who occasionally agrees but rarely takes the lead. On the surface, they seem weak or passive. But here is the twist. They are learning more about others than those who dominate every conversation. By taking a step back, by appearing submissive, you actually get to watch how others react when they think they're in charge. You get to study their behavior, understand their vulnerabilities, and observe what they truly value. Information is power. This is where Machiavelli's wisdom shines through. He recognized that the best manipulators are not the loudest or most aggressive. They are the ones who seem to give up control but are quietly pulling the strings from behind the scenes. In business, this means letting someone else make the first move, and once they've revealed their intentions, you can position yourself to benefit from their mistakes or miscalculations. In romantic relationships, it means allowing your partner to feel like the dominant one while you understand their weaknesses and desires more deeply than they ever could imagine. Now let us break down the final and most dangerous aspect of Machiavellian power, how appearing powerless gives you the freedom to strike decisively, and how those who truly know how to play this game never need to fight at all. The true brilliance of Machiavelli's logic lies in the final, most powerful application of appearing powerless, the moment of decisive action. When you've played the game well, when you've made others think you're weak, you now hold the ultimate power to strike at the perfect moment, and that's when the game is truly won. Machiavelli knew that the greatest power doesn't come from constant domination. It comes from the ability to choose when to reveal your strength. You control the outcome by waiting until others have already exposed their vulnerabilities. And then, at the right moment, you strike decisively. Think of it like playing poker. If you constantly bet aggressively, your opponents will catch on and play against you. But if you play a few rounds quietly, letting others make their moves first, you collect information and observe their strategies. Then, when the stakes are highest, you place the big bet. Your opponents, assuming you're a passive player, are caught off guard and forced to fold. This is what Machiavelli meant by acting powerless. The most dangerous player is not the one who shows their cards too early, but the one who allows their opponents to reveal theirs. By staying calm, appearing unthreatening, and letting others take charge, you create a situation where you can act with total control, and the power to act quickly and decisively is what truly wins. In relationships, this means waiting until your partner reveals their desires, fears, or insecurities, and then using that knowledge to guide your next move. In business, it's about letting others underestimate you, allowing them to overextend, and then stepping in to secure the deal when they least expect it. This strategy is not about aggression or manipulation for its own sake. It is about knowing when to engage and knowing when to let others think they've won. And when they do, that's when you take control. Next, let's dive into the psychology behind why people fear those who seem passive. The power of restraint is often the most terrifying force in any relationship, and understanding why this works will change how you approach power dynamics forever. Now, let us uncover the most fascinating part of Machiavelli's logic. Why people fear those who appear passive. It's a paradox. We fear those who do not react. You see, when someone shows aggression or dominance, it's easy to predict what they want. They make it clear. They are transparent in their intentions. But when someone holds back, when they stay calm in the face of pressure, when they seem emotionally detached, their unpredictability is what creates fear. People fear the unknown more than anything. And the person who appears emotionally controlled, who doesn't chase validation or react to every situation, seems unpredictable. They operate on their own terms, and that makes them dangerous. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He wrote about how leaders who can remain calm in chaos, who don't rush to assert themselves but instead observe the situation, instill uncertainty in others. This fear of the unknown makes people act carefully because they don't know how you will respond. Your lack of obvious desire or reaction creates tension, and tension creates respect. This is why some people become irresistible even if they're not outwardly confident or overbearing. They seem detached, almost emotionless in their interactions. They don't beg for attention. They don't need constant reassurance. And when others see this, they begin to wonder what's going on inside that person's mind. The more self-contained you are, the more people will wonder what they're missing out on. This detachment creates psychological space. Instead of reacting to every situation, you create a pause, and that pause lets you take control of the narrative. Your silence becomes your weapon. It forces others to move carefully, to weigh their actions, because they don't know how you'll respond. You've removed predictability from the equation, and that's when your power is at its peak. Now let's break down the last piece of Machiavelli's dark logic, why this method doesn't just keep you safe. It actually positions you as the master of any interaction. You'll see how acting powerless makes you the one who dictates outcomes without ever needing to raise your voice. Now, let's put everything together. Here is the ultimate Machiavellian insight. Acting powerless gives you the power to control outcomes without ever needing to fight for them. This doesn't mean pretending to be weak. It means choosing when and where to show your power. By appearing passive, by stepping back and letting others act first, you create space to move strategically. You observe, you collect information. You let the situation unfold. And when the moment is right, when your opponent has overextended, when they've revealed their hand, that's when you strike. The truth is, real power is in the ability to remain in control without exerting force. It's in waiting for the right moment and acting decisively when it counts. This is what makes you untouchable, because everyone else is fighting for control, while you've already mastered the game. Machiavelli's brilliance lies in understanding that power comes not from constant action, but from choosing when not to act and when to let others reveal their cards. Once you've learned to control your responses and remain detached, you'll see that you can bend others to your will without lifting a finger. This is the ultimate form of psychological dominance. If this insight flipped your understanding of power and strategy, drop a comment below about what changed your perspective. Like if you now see how acting passive can actually make you the one in control. Subscribe to Dark Pattern Decoder for more on mastering psychological dynamics, and start using the power of restraint in your own life. Remember, in the game of life, it's not about being the loudest in the room, it's about being the most unpredictable. I'll see you in the next one. Stay grounded, stay strategic.